First Contact Protocol. The UES Harmony drifted silently through the void, its sleek hull catching the distant light of 3 suns. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, watching the readings cascade across her screens. After 18 months of travel, they had finally reached the Zephyrian system. This moment would either mark humanity's greatest diplomatic triumph or its most catastrophic failure. Sensors detect multiple vessels approaching, Commander, reported Lieutenant Torres from his station. Configuration unknown, but they're definitely artificial. Sarah nodded, her fingers drumming against the armrest of her command chair. The Zephyrians had been sending radio signals into space for over 2 centuries, but this was humanity's first direct contact with them. Everything had to go perfectly. Open a channel on all frequencies, Sarah commanded. Let's introduce ourselves properly. The view screen flickered to life, showing the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Their ships were unlike anything in human design, crystalline structures that seemed to grow rather than be built, pulsing with an inner light that shifted from blue to violet. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Harmony, she began, using the standard First Contact Protocol, developed by the best diplomatic minds on Earth. We come in peace. We represent the people of Earth and seek friendship with your civilization. The response came quickly, but not as expected. Instead of words, the Zephyrian ships immediately changed formation, spreading into what any military officer would recognize as an attack pattern. Commander, they're powering weapons, Torres reported, his voice tight with tension. Sarah felt ice form in her stomach. Something had gone wrong, terribly wrong. All stop. Raise shields, but do not power weapons. Send the message again, but slower this time. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the mission's lead xenolinguist, hurried to Sarah's side. Commander, our translation matrix might have errors. What we think means peace could mean something entirely different to them. The Zephyrian ships moved closer, their crystalline hulls now pulsing with an angry red light. Then, finally, a response came through the communications array. The voice was musical, almost like singing, but the words were unmistakably threatening when run through the translation software. Deceptive beings from the dark void, your words of false peace fool no one. We know what your kind does to worlds that welcome invaders. Prepare to face the consequences of your lies. Sarah's blood ran cold. Dr. Reeves, run a full analysis of our translation protocols. Something's not adding up here. Working on it, Commander, Reeves replied, her fingers flying over her console. But this is going to take time we might not have. The largest Zephyrian vessel, easily twice the size of the Harmony, moved into position directly ahead of them. Its surface was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change, like a living mandala of light and shadow. Unknown. Vessel, you will surrender immediately or face destruction. Your peaceful intentions are known to us. We have studied your species' history through your broadcasts. We know what peace means to humans. Sarah's mind raced. What could they possibly mean? Humanity's broadcasts had included everything from news reports to entertainment, educational programs to historical documentaries. What had the Zephyrians seen that made them so hostile? Lieutenant Park, Sarah called to her communications officer. Access our cultural database. Cross-reference everything we've broadcast that might relate to the word peace or our diplomatic history. Commander, Torres interrupted. 3 more Zephyrian vessels just dropped out of what appears to be their version of FTL. We're now outnumbered 8-1. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Sarah had trained for first contact scenarios her entire career, but never one where the aliens seemed to hate humanity before they'd even met. Dr. Reeves suddenly looked up from her console, her face pale. Commander, I think I know what happened. Our phrase, "we come in peace," when run through their linguistic matrix and cultural context, might be interpreted as, "we come for pieces." As in, pieces of their world, their resources, their people. That's not possible, Sarah said. But even as the words left her mouth, she realized how wrong she might be. It gets worse, Reeves continued. Remember that historical documentary series we broadcast 15 years ago? The March of Empires? It showed humanity's entire colonial period, every conquest, every expansion. From their perspective, every time humans said "we come in peace" in those broadcasts, it was followed by conquest and subjugation. The pieces were falling into place with horrible clarity. The Zephyrians hadn't just learned human language from their broadcasts, they'd learned human history. And from their perspective, human peace was indistinguishable from human conquest. "Open a channel again," Sarah ordered. "All frequencies, maximum power." "Commander, are you sure?" "They've made their intentions clear." "I'm sure, Lieutenant. We need to fix this before it spirals out of control." The channel opened, and Sarah took a deep breath. "Zephyrian vessels. This is Commander Chen. I believe there has been a misunderstanding. When we say we come in peace, we mean we come without intention to harm, conquer, or take anything from your people. We seek only friendship and knowledge." The response was immediate and harsh. "Your own broadcasts betray your lies, human. We have seen your peace. We have watched your documentaries showing how your explorers brought peace to every continent of your world. Your peace means the end of our civilization." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of centuries of human conflict pressing down on her shoulders. Every mistake, every war, every moment of greed or aggression in human history was now threatening to destroy humanity's future among the stars. "Dr. Reeves, is there any way to show them our more recent history, the last century of human development?" "I can try to compile something, but it will take time to create a coherent narrative that addresses their concerns." "Do it, and make sure to include the formation of the United Nations, the end of colonial expansion, our environmental recovery efforts, and the development of our peaceful space exploration protocols." The Zephyrian fleet was now in full battle formation, their ships' weapons clearly powered and ready. The Harmony's shields sparked as targeting beams swept over their hull. "Commander," Torres called out, "they're scanning us for weak points. I recommend we prepare for evasive maneuvers." Sarah shook her head. "No. If we run or fight, we prove their point. We stay here and we make them understand who we really are." "That's a huge gamble, Commander. If you're wrong." "If I'm wrong, then humanity's first contact ends in tragedy," Sarah replied quietly. "But if I'm right, if we can show them that we've learned from our mistakes, that we've grown beyond our violent past, then maybe we can still salvage this." The largest Zephyrian ship moved even closer, close enough that they could see the individual crystal formations on its hull. Each crystal seemed to pulse with its own internal light, creating patterns that were almost hypnotic in their complexity. "Final warning, human vessel. Your historical records show that your species responds to strength. Surrender now or be destroyed. We will not allow another world to fall to human peace." Dr. Reeves looked up from her console. "Commander, I've compiled a basic historical overview of the last 100 years of human development. It shows our transition from a warlike species to one focused on cooperation and exploration, but I don't know if it will be enough." "Send it," Sarah ordered. "All frequencies, continuous broadcast." As the data stream began transmitting, Sarah found herself thinking about the irony of the situation. Humanity had spent centuries learning to live in peace with itself, overcoming nationalism, racism, and the drive for territorial expansion. They had developed space exploration not as a form of conquest, but as a way to find new homes for their growing population and to seek knowledge about the universe. But none of that mattered now if they couldn't convince the Zephyrians that their intentions were genuine. The seconds ticked by like hours. The Zephyrian ships maintained their aggressive formation, weapons still powered, but they hadn't fired. Sarah allowed herself a small hope that they were at least reviewing the historical data. Then suddenly everything changed. "Commander," Torres called out, his voice filled with alarm. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures, multiple FTL exits throughout the system." The view screen shifted to show the tactical display. Dozens of new contacts were appearing throughout the Zephyrian system, and these weren't Zephyrian ships. The configuration was completely different. Organic-looking vessels that seemed to writhe and shift like living creatures. "New contacts are broadcasting on all frequencies," Park reported. "The message is simple. Surrender or die. One of the Zephyrian commanders finally responded to the Harmony's transmissions, but now their musical voice carried a note of desperation rather than anger. Human vessel, it appears we may have misjudged the timing of your arrival. The Devourers have found our system. They consume entire worlds, leaving nothing behind but empty space. Our fleets are already moving to intercept them, but we are outnumbered. Sarah felt her heart stop. In all their preparations for first contact, no one had considered the possibility that they might arrive in the middle of someone else's war. Dr. Reeves, can you determine anything about these Devourers from their ship configurations or broadcast signatures? Working on it, Commander, but their ships, they're unlike anything in our xenological database. The energy signatures suggest some form of biomechanical technology, possibly grown rather than built. The largest Zephyrian ship suddenly changed course, accelerating toward the newcomers. As it moved, its captain sent one final message to the Harmony. Human vessel, if your intentions are truly peaceful as you claim, then prove it now. Help us defend our world, or watch as the Devourers consume everything we have built over millennia. This is your chance to show the galaxy what human peace really means. Sarah looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. They were explorers and diplomats, not warriors. The Harmony carried only defensive weapons, designed to protect against asteroids and debris, not to fight in space battles. But sometimes, true peace could only be preserved through strength and sacrifice. All hands, battle stations, Sarah commanded. We came here to show the galaxy who we really are. Today they're going to learn exactly what "we come in peace" means to humanity. What peace really means. The space around the Zephyrian homeworld erupted into chaos as three different civilizations collided in a battle that would reshape galactic history. The Devourer ships moved like predators, their organic hulls pulsing with dark energy as they swept toward the inhabited planets with single-minded hunger. Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with growing horror. The Devourer fleet, numbered in the hundreds, each ship the size of a city, while the combined Zephyrian and human forces barely reached 50 vessels. The mathematical reality was stark and unforgiving. Commander, Lieutenant Torres called out, the Zephyrians are requesting tactical coordination. They want to know our weapon capabilities and defensive strategies. Sarah almost laughed at the absurdity of it. The Harmony carried mining lasers modified for asteroid deflection, electromagnetic pulse generators designed for clearing space debris, and shield systems built for radiation protection. Against the massive biomechanical monstrosities bearing down on them, humanity's peaceful exploration vessel was essentially defenseless. Tell them we have limited offensive capabilities, Sarah replied, but we're here to help however we can. Dr. Reeves looked up from her station, where she had been analyzing the Devourer communications. Commander, I'm not picking up any language. Patterns from the Devourers. No attempts at communication, no response to hails. Their broadcasts are simple mathematical sequences, probably targeting data and tactical coordination. They're not interested in talking, Sarah concluded grimly. They're just here to consume. The first wave of Devourer ships reached the outer defensive perimeter, where a dozen Zephyrian vessels had formed a barrier. The crystalline ships fought valiantly, their energy weapons carving bright lines across space, but the Devourers absorbed the damage like water absorbed light. One by one, the Zephyrian defenders were overwhelmed, their beautiful crystal hulls cracking and going dark. Commander, incoming transmission from the Zephyrian flagship, Park announced. The view screen flickered to reveal a being that took Sarah's breath away. The Zephyrian commander was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to be made of living crystal. Light moved beneath the surface in patterns that reflected their emotional state, currently a rapid pulse of deep purple that Sarah instinctively understood as fear mixed with determination. Human Commander Chen, I am Fleet Admiral Chiron of the Zephyrian Defense Force. Our preliminary analysis suggests the Devourer fleet will reach our homeworld in approximately 4 hours. We have evacuation ships prepared, but they can only carry a fraction of our population. Sarah felt the weight of an entire civilization's survival pressing down on her shoulders. Admiral Chiron, What do you need from us? The crystalline being's light patterns shifted to something resembling hope. Your ship's sensors are more advanced than ours. We need you to help coordinate our evacuation efforts while our military vessels try to buy time. But I must warn you, the Devourers do not distinguish between combatants and civilians. If you stay to help, you may not survive. The bridge fell silent. Every member of the Harmony's crew understood what they were being asked to do. Stay and help save as many Zephyrian lives as possible, knowing they would likely die in the process or retreat to safety and let an entire civilization face extinction alone. Sarah looked around at her crew. Lieutenant Torres gave her a firm nod. Dr. Reeves was already pulling up evacuation logistics on her console. Park had switched all communication arrays to emergency broadcast mode. They didn't need to discuss it. They all knew what the right choice was. Admiral Chiron, the Harmony Doira, will remain and assist with evacuation coordination, Sarah announced. Send us the locations of your population centers and evacuation sites. We'll use our sensors to guide your transport ships through the safest routes. The light patterns beneath Kieran's crystalline skin shifted to something Sarah had never seen before. A soft, warm golden glow that seemed to radiate gratitude and respect. Commander Chen, why? Your people barely know us. We were prepared to destroy you just hours ago. Why would you risk your lives for strangers? Sarah took a deep breath before answering. Because that's what we come in peace really means, Admiral. It doesn't mean we're weak or defenseless. It means we believe every civilization has the right to exist, to grow, to reach for the stars. True peace isn't just the absence of war. It's the willingness to sacrifice for others, even when they're different from us. The next 4 hours passed in a blur of desperate activity. The Harmony's advanced sensor array proved invaluable in coordinating the evacuation. They identified clear corridors through space debris, tracked Devourer patrol patterns, and guided hundreds of civilian transport ships to safety. Sarah's crew worked without rest, knowing that every minute they bought meant thousands more lives saved. But the Devourer fleet continued its inexorable advance. The Zephyrian military was fighting brilliantly, using their knowledge of local space to set up ambushes and hit-and-run attacks, but they were vastly outnumbered. Ship after ship fell to the relentless assault. Commander, Torres reported. Admiral, Kieran's flagship has been badly damaged. They're falling back to the inner system. Sarah watched the tactical display as the crystalline ship limped away from the battle, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere. The sight filled her with a fierce determination she had never felt before. Park, open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet, she ordered. All Zephyrian vessels, this is Commander Chen. I'm reading massive Devourer formations converging on your homeworld. Your evacuation ships won't be able to escape if those things reach the planet first. Admiral Kieran's face appeared on screen, the light beneath their crystalline features now a dim, flickering blue. Commander, we know. We're doing everything we can, but there are too many of them. Our world has existed for 50,000 years. Today, it dies. Sarah felt something snap inside her, not break, but crystallize into perfect clarity. She thought about every human who had ever stood up to bullies, every person who had risked their life for a stranger, every moment in human history when someone had chosen to do the right thing instead of the easy thing. Not if I can help it, Sarah said quietly. Torres, plot an intercept course for the largest concentration of Devourer ships. Maximum burn. Commander, that's suicide. We don't have the weapons to fight them. Sarah smiled grimly. We don't need weapons. We just need to buy time. Dr. Reeves, how long do the evacuation ships need to clear the system? At least 2 hours, Commander. Then we hold them for 2 hours. The Harmony accelerated toward the Devourer fleet, its small human crew determined to prove that peace was not weakness, but the greatest strength any species could possess. As they approached the massive biomechanical ships, Sarah opened a final channel to Admiral Chiron. Admiral, when you tell your people about today, when you tell them about humanity's first contact with your species, remember this. We came in peace, and will die in peace if necessary, so that others might live. That's what the phrase really means. But as the Harmony closed with the Devourer fleet, something unexpected happened. The massive bioships began to slow, their organic hulls rippling with what almost looked like confusion. Then, one by one, they began to change course. "Commander," Dr. Reeves called out in amazement, "I'm reading massive energy surges throughout their fleet. They're retreating." The view screen showed the incredible sight of hundreds of Devourer ships turning away from the Zephyrian homeworld and accelerating toward the edge of the system. Within minutes they were gone, vanishing into FTL space as suddenly as they had arrived. Sarah stared at the empty space where the enemy fleet had been. What just happened? Admiral Chiron's face reappeared on screen, their crystalline features now glowing with a brilliant white light. "Commander Chen, our long-range sensors detected something remarkable. The moment your ship moved to intercept the Devourers, every other human vessel in this sector of the galaxy changed course toward our system. Hundreds of them. Exploration ships, cargo freighters, even passenger liners, all coming to help defend, strangers they'd never met." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face as the implications hit her. Humanity's peaceful expansion into space hadn't made them soft. It had created a network of people who would drop everything to help others in need. "The Devourers are a hive mind," Chiron continued. "They calculate odds of success before committing to an attack. When they detected the incoming human fleet, they realized they would be facing not just our defenses, but an entire species willing to die for the principle of protecting others. They decided the cost was too high." Dr. Reeves looked up from her console with wonder in her eyes. "Commander, I'm receiving messages from all over human space. News of our first contact situation spread through the communication networks. Every ship captain, every colony administrator, every human settlement immediately voted to send help. They didn't ask for authorization or wait for orders. They just came." Sarah sank into her command chair, overwhelmed by what they had just witnessed. In trying to prove that humanity came in peace, they had instead demonstrated something far more powerful, that human peace was active, not passive. It wasn't just the absence of aggression, but the presence of an unshakable commitment to defend others. Admiral Chiron's image flickered as their ship's communication system struggled with damage, but their message came through clearly. "Commander Chen, the Zephyrian people owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid. But more than that, you have taught us something profound about what peace truly means. We always thought peace was simply avoiding conflict. Today we learned that true peace is worth fighting for." As evacuation ships began returning to the Zephyrian homeworld and the first human relief vessels arrived at the edge of the system, Sarah realized that this moment would be remembered as more than just humanity's first contact with alien life. It would be remembered as the day the galaxy learned what humans really meant when they said, "We come in peace." The phrase didn't promise weakness or submission. It promised something far more dangerous to those who would threaten the innocent. It promised that humanity would stand between the darkness and the light, no matter the cost. And in the years that followed, as news of the Zephyrian rescue spread throughout known space, other civilizations began to understand that when humans said, "We come in peace," they were making both a promise and a warning. Peace, in human terms, was not just a destination, but a way of life worth protecting, worth fighting for and worth dying for if necessary. The galaxy would never be the same.